On this week's episode of Grab a Gear, we're going to be discussing the Nissan Stanza and everything we've done to it so far. So get ready for some exciting stuff. Jared drives a Stanza without a muffler. Dan attempts to drill a hole. Dan attempts to wire in a wiring harness. And Jared pretends to know what he's doing when really he doesn't. In this video, all we're going to be going over is the Nissan Stanza and everything that we've done. So let's dive right in. Here we go. So here it is a day before we get the new exhaust on. I'm driving it home so I can take it over in the morning. You can hear it's not necessarily quiet. So in these pictures, what we're doing here is we're washing it out. We actually used simple green, scrub brush, everything. From the previous episode of the Stanza, you probably saw how disgusting it was on the inside. The carpet was just ruined.
But here you can see the pictures we're rolling in. We have everything actually stripped out. We've been really trying to clean it out, scrub it out nice, so it'll actually be ready for us to put in our new undercoating on the inside and get our carpet laid in.
It's going to look a lot better when we're done.
Alright, well, as you can see, it looks a little bit better today, and that's because I went ahead and did the second coat on it. I might even do a third coat. We have quite a bit left. You'll be able to notice that the back's all done now. A little messy down there. This side is done. Let's go ahead and shut this real quick. Maybe. There we go. I need to roll that spot down there at the bottom, but that's got to wait until it dries. One of the other things I did today already, you'll see those little pieces. I trimmed the front bumper, so right here, trimmed it out. We need to adjust a little bit back here. Probably just take a hammer to it. It's only needing a little bit of room. Let's take a look. Right over here, you can see I sort of banged in right here, and I'm going to flatten this piece out. And then with the spacers we got coming, it'll definitely help out. So yeah, there we are, guys, for now. Tomorrow, or one of these days coming up, I'll be doing the interior. We're going to be recarpeting it, getting the speakers put in, new stereo and everything. So, alright, well, check back soon.
Alright guys, so here we are. I think we're on day 9 or so for working on the Grab a Gear official recovery vehicle that Jared is all about. I mean, all about. But unfortunately, we lost a lot of our video footage from all the things we've been doing so far. But I'm sure you'll see it rolled in for how the initial short was for what it came with and how the interior was with like the cats and animals living in it and everything else. But as you can see, we've have our nice, amazing Harbor Freight winch partially installed, but I mean, still need a few tweaks here and there, but we'll get everything finished up and buttoned up real nice. We have our Bedliner on the outside just to kind of give it a little bit more rough and tough exterior finish. Then as we work our way back, you see we have some nice larger all-terrain wheels on with some spacers. Had to cut and trim the fenders quite a bit, beat in on the interior fender to get them to fit, but no rubbing on the front right now. So just for comparison's sake, here's our original wheel against our new, so just a little bit bigger. But as you can see, quite a bit of trimming on the front and on the rear. But overall, not too bad. Just makes it look quite a bit tougher, I guess, if you will. So now it looks like you can actually maybe go out and do things with it. So following me around here, you'll see up top we have our roof rack installed with our lights. We still have to wire everything, but you get real technical, you can see they're not perfectly straight, but whatever. It'll be good enough. But we can run some wiring and everything else, and you can see there's a few spots we missed with our lining. We still got to clean up some of our silicone for where we punched our holes through and everything else, but we got everything welded on and tacked in real nice, so that's up in there secure. Then coming back around in here to see the interior, we had it completely stripped out, and I don't know if we have any photos to roll in, but we ended up underlining the entire interior. As you can see, we need to re-vacuum some of it still. And then we have our own custom Walmart carpets that are cut and bolted in under everything now. We just have a few more things to finish up on the inside. We'll get the center console reinstalled and get our seats back in, and then maybe we'll do some stuff with the dash and door still, but we're still working on it. Then with the doors here, you can see that's about as far as they move now, because we didn't account for the spacer with the tires, how much wider they're going to be. See that? That's about all we get out of it now, unfortunately, but it's fine. It's fine. It'll do great. And then we still have a few more spots to trim on the back for the wheels with the way the suspension is actuating, but we'll get to that. As you can see, we have a bunch of stuff in here still, but we'll end up cleaning it out. Took us two of the little, what are they, 6x8 carpets or 4x8 carpets, something like that from Walmart for like $30 a pop. Just kind of cut and laid them in, and we have a few spots to glue on them to really hold them down, but otherwise we have a lot of our seat bolts like punched through and holding different spaces down on them. But overall, not too shabby. But we'll get to our speakers here. We already got our wires being ran for them. So we'll get the stereo done. We'll get our seats put back in here soon, and we'll get the rest of it cleaned up, and hopefully we'll give you guys a nice shot of how it's actually going to look after that. As you can see, Jared already showed you a few times how our door hits, but we have a 1.5-inch wheel spacer inside under those, so that's why you got it a little bit more pushed out. But otherwise, I'll try to roll in a shot and show you. There was just no way for it to actually fit with the way the strut tower sits, with how wide the tire is actually behind it, so it's been rubbing the whole time. So hopefully we'll get a picture of that and be able to roll it in for you, so you can actually see, especially on the front where the top half sits on it. But overall, not too bad. Not too bad.
You can see the carpets going in. We have everything lined out and tucked in. We're just getting ready to clean up and get everything set in there nice and pretty. Here we are putting the interior trim pieces back in. A lot of the pieces were missing or already taken out of the car when we got it together. So we're trying to figure out where everything goes and get things lined up. Not everything was perfect with hardware, so we had to use some self-tapping screws and get our own things lined out.
Yeah, it definitely was a little bit more of a challenge than we anticipated. After we installed the carpet, obviously it raised up the floor a little, so we had to really sort of, I don't know, what do you want to call it? We fought it a little bit, but we couldn't actually figure out what screws went into the holes. We had a whole bucket of them. So we decided we would just use new screws and self-tap it in, make it nice and pretty looking. The funny part is we only had one power tool, which of course on my side worked, and then as soon as I gave it to Dan, it died. So that was pretty funny.
Par for the course. Par for the course.
Yeah, nothing ever works good for Dan. But as you can see, where he's like having to push down on it just so the holes line up. But we did get it in.
Here we are installing the seat. They're kind of clunky and rough to get in there, especially with the rear doors not being able to open anymore. So we have to fish them through to each other. Then the way we have our carpet set in there, everything's really nice and snugged in. So it took both of us to actually get everything lined up because we have the holes punched just enough. So it just is really clean looking with the way it's sitting in there.
Yeah, and the thing is about in 1986, they didn't use light metals back then either. These seats are stout. I mean, I don't know where Japan got the metal back then, but this stuff is heavy. That seat is like, I don't even know. What do you think?
I think it's
60, 70 pounds?
yeah, it's up there. It's definitely on there.
Yeah. And it was a challenge because the holes were lined up through the carpet. So here we are getting ready to install the wiring harness. You can see that we are sort of coming up with a game plan, where it's going to go, everything else. Now, the joy of older cars is you really get to use your imagination on how things are run. The other joy of it is that we get to use a lot of zip ties, a ton of zip ties to be exact. We really did. I don't want to say how do I word this? I don't know. It just wasn't done amazingly, but it did come out looking pretty good. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, it turned out really nice. We had enough slack in all our wiring that we could run through on opposite sides of the firewall, run across, get our relays kind of mounted up out of the way, away from heat, and then kind of crisscross around things and zip tie them and tuck them. So it's really out of the way for a lot of that stuff.
So as I said, you can clearly see that our use of zip ties is amazing. About half of this car is now held together by zip ties. No, I'm playing. It's not half. But definitely quite a few zip ties were used.
Find me another spot, baby. Oh, yeah, you just gotta
Let's keep this PG-13.
That now.
So obviously what you just heard is us trying to keep this show at least PG. So I'm not the best at editing yet, so that's my attempt at bleeping something out without the actual bleep tone. But as you can see, this is us installing the relay for the lights. Again, we really did try to keep it looking professional, so we actually installed it on the firewall using a real screw this time. Looking good. Alright, so here I am trying to help Dan install the wires coming up the pillar. I honestly don't know much about wiring up anything, so I just pretend to know what I'm doing, and then say I have to go to the bathroom, and Dan finishes it. So this is me like, okay, yeah, let's put some zip ties on, etc. And then I just sort of walk away after this. But yeah.
And it magically happens.
Love it. Bedliner's amazing. Can't even drill through it.
That has nothing to do with it being super dull or anything.
It's not. It's brand new.
Because this Nissan Stanza is made out of like unobtainium.
That's what it is.
Here I am wiring in the roof rack lights up here. As you can see, I'm trimming out my wires right now, getting everything stripped out so I can solder all my connections in. I'm not doing any crimp clamps or any type of quick disconnects like that. Just get a better connection once you get everything lined out and soldered in. It just it holds better and it just does better overall current draw and everything else for your lights. You don't have to worry about pieces rattling apart if you do everything correctly. All with like if you crimp on connections, like they can just come loose after a while sometimes, or even the condensation will get in there and just corrode the contacts out. So I'm getting everything measured out and trimmed out where I need it so I can splice in. I have all these just going to be ran in a series with each other. So it's just one main lead going across and one ground coming back for them all. But here I am stripping out the wires, and I don't know if we have any more footage of me where I actually solder all my connections in. But we'll just get everything ran out and lined in. I'll be slipping on some heat shrink tubing here pretty soon for all my connections. And that way it'll just keep all the moisture and condensation out, so everything will just be going real good.
It's really funny because he talks about soldering, yet in the next clip you'll see just how much soldering we actually did. Hint, hint.
Yeah, I actually went through quite a bit, even though he's like saying I didn't. But I did, unfortunately.
Whatever you want to do.
So what are we doing here, Dan?
We are installing our amazing Harbor Freight LED, or it's not even LEDs, they're halogen.
Awesome.
It's the most chintzy electrical job you've ever seen. Who needs to solder when you can just do it wrong? Try not to razor my fingers. I'm just going to strip off some insulation and use some crimp connections, because why do it correctly with a soldering iron and you can not, I guess. Mainly because I forgot my
I was going to say, don't blame it on that, because you didn't bring it.
That's 100% true. Otherwise I'd be doing this correctly, not this way. But this is fine too.
Amazing.
Yes, it will be.
So as you can see, here is the wheels and tires. Just this is a little bit of a slideshow, last little bit here, showing you what we've done. Here's a back shot. You actually see we gained about 4 inches of clearance with the wheels and tires. Really did add a lot to it. Front view, we got the winch almost installed. The fair lead isn't connected. The bolts that came with it, thanks Harbor Freight, were not the right bolts. No, actually we were short bolts. They didn't even give us all the bolts. But here you go. Here's the winch. And yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Stick around for the next episode where we take the Stanza out for its maiden voyage. We'll see how well we actually did.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe for all of our videos. And stick with us because next week we'll be taking the Stanza out for its maiden voyage. See you then.